Hello there, it's Dr. Siobhan Parad here, founder of Relatable. And I wanted to come on and talk with you about 5 ways that you are making marriage harder than it has to be. So I'm going to pull up my notes because I want to make sure I don't forget any of these points. A lot of times I speak with women and it's so obvious that they are sad and disappointed and frustrated and angry and resentful about so many things happening in their marriage. And as we have these conversations, what becomes very clear to me many times is the way that they are sort of contributing to their own suffering, the way that they are making things harder on themselves, the way that they feed sort of their own sadness and frustration and anger. And a lot of times they're not even aware of it. And so what I wanted to do today was just come on and share with all of you the 5 most common things that I'm seeing, which are responsible for why marriage feels so hard, why it feels so difficult, why it's such a struggle, right? You feel like you're on the struggle bus sometimes. And so the first thing for why, or one of the ways that you make marriage harder than it has to be, is you don't tell the truth of how you really feel. So communication is one of the top things I always hear from women that they want to improve in their marriage. And a lot of times when you're communicating with your husband, you're communicating about the issue at hand, the thing that's pissed you off, the thing that's upset you, the thing that he did wrong. And that's fine, but really beneath that, right? So really beneath the anger and the frustration is usually a little bit of sadness, and there's a need that you have that he's not fulfilling. Like, you need to feel important, you need to feel appreciated, you need to feel valued, and you don't say that to him, right? How often do you come to a conversation with him saying, like, honey, I miss you and I need you and I really wish we could spend more time together, right? That's probably not the conversation you are having if you are in a tough spot in your marriage right now. And so not saying how you truly feel, not being in tune and self-reflective about what's really going on for you underneath the surface, behind the anger, behind the criticism and blame, is making things harder, because your husband wants to connect with you at a heart level. He wants to connect with you at your vulnerable, honest, authentic level, not this sort of facade and this image of who you think you should be as a strong woman, as a woman who's not going to take this and not going to take that, right? You don't often show him your heart. And that's the place where he's going to listen most. That's the place where he's going to respond to you compassionately and out of the place that you want him to. That's where he's going to pay attention to your needs, because you've communicated at a deeper level what's really going on with you and how you really feel. So that's point number 1 for how you make marriage harder. You don't communicate how you really feel. You put on this air of what you're supposed to feel and what you're supposed to say. Number 2 is you expect your husband to meet all your needs. So it's sort of, the flip side of that. It's a catch-22, where yes, your husband as your partner in life, as your soulmate, as your helpmate, wants to meet your needs. He wants to make you happy. And I know maybe you're in a place where you're not really quite sure, where it seems like he wants to make you unhappy and more frustrated and miserable. But really, right, what brought you together was love. And what brought you together was his desire to spend the rest of his life with you and to make you happy. And so a lot of times women go into marriage expecting that their husband is going to be the end-all be-all, that he's going to provide this constant source of joy and laughter and connection and communication and fun and passion and intimacy, right? But he's human too, right? He has his own struggles. He has his own demons and things that he's trying to work through, that he can't be all things to you at all times. And so I often say that your happiness is an inside job, that you can't depend on your husband and what he's doing, saying, and thinking to be the only source of happiness in your marriage, right? You've got to cultivate your own sense of joy and peace and fulfillment within yourself. And, one of the reasons that things feel so hard is that you're hoping and wishing and praying he would meet all these needs for you, that he would fill the void that you may be feeling in certain areas of your life. But that's your job to do. He'll never be able to do it, right? He'll never be able to compliment you enough, tell you how beautiful you are, if you don't first believe that about yourself. And so just think about that, right? Just think about, are you really expecting him to meet all of these needs that when you really sit and look in the mirror are probably your needs to fulfill for yourself? Okay? Now, the third way is comparison, right? So you're on Facebook, which means you have access to the pictures, the posts, and all of the wonderful snapshots of the lives of your friends and family, right? And so Facebook has for sure become a place where people post the best, right? People are posting their date nights, they're posting their vacations, they're posting the time they're spending with their family members. Like, life just couldn't be more blissful, right? Because that's all you see on Facebook. And so what happens, and what makes things seem so hard and makes you so discontent in your own marriage, is this third way where you're comparing the insides of your marriage to the outsides of other people's marriages, right? And so maybe someone posted about how their husband bought them something, or he gave them flowers, or he, got them a card, right? But you don't know the struggle that they are experiencing. You don't know the fights and the arguments and the silent treatment that is prevalent in their home, right? You don't know what they've been through to get to that point. Yet it's so easy to look at what you think other people have. It's so easy to look at people's posts and say to yourself, well, I wish my husband would do that, or why isn't my husband stepping up to the plate in this way? It's so easy to fall into that trap. And when you do, it just breeds more discontentment. It breeds more disappointment, because now you've created some expectation of what your husband should be doing, or you're comparing what he's not doing to what you think someone else's husband is doing, or what you think someone else's marriage looks like. And it's just a snapshot in time, right? But if you're able to focus more on what's going on inside your marriage, if you're able to look for the good, whether that's the good in the past or the good that's yet to come, then it becomes so much easier, and you can be at peace and be hopeful and excited about what's ahead. Okay, so that's way number 3. Then way number 4 is that there's this tendency to sort of fight with reality. There's this tendency to have expectations that are just unrealistic given the current situation that you are in. And so that's not to say that the expectations you have of your husband are unrealistic, right? I am a woman of incredibly high standards, and I would hope that you are too. But at some point, you have to look at, is there any evidence or any reason you have to believe that your husband's going to meet that expectation, right? So if you're looking for him to apologize, or if you're looking for him to understand how you feel about something, if you're looking for him to offer you support and encouragement, and for the past week, month, 6 months, year, 2 years, he's just not done that, then you have to begin to look at that expectation, because what's happening is you're fighting with reality. You're fighting with the situation at hand, and that only leads to more frustration. Again, I'm not saying you need to relax your standards or you need to just lay down and accept things, but you have to look at the reality of what you're facing, and you have to stop wanting things to be different than the way they are. You have to accept where you are and then take the steps necessary to move you in your own mindset to a place of greater peace and fulfillment and joy. Okay, so that's way number 4, is that you have these unrealistic expectations that are counter and total opposite of what's actually happening in your marriage. And then the 5th way that you make marriage harder than it has to be is that you try to do things all on your own, right? So when it comes to relationships and when it comes to communicating and interacting with our husbands, it's very easy to think that you should just know what to do, right? Like, you're a responsible, intelligent adult, you should know how to communicate with someone. You should know how to get your point across. You should know how to make time for each other. You should know how to resolve your conflict. There's this sort of, expectation that you should just be able to figure this out, right? That maybe you're just going through a phase and that you'll work it out somehow. But what's the plan, right? Even if you do want to do things on your own, you actually have to have a plan, or you'll just let things cruise and fall off the way that they have been, right? And so what becomes hard and frustrating and makes you feel like you're stuck is that you're trying to do things the way you've always done things. You're trying to do things on your own without any new resources or information or tools or steps or a process to get you a different outcome. You're trying the same old things. You may dress them up differently, but it's the same old habits, the same old ways of thinking, the same old perceptions, and they're keeping you stuck because you're trying to do it on your own and you don't have some outside perspective or some outside resource or some new insight that can actually lead you to doing things differently. So again, so many times you're making marriage harder than it has to be. And the 5 ways you do that are: 1, you don't tell the truth about how you really feel. You're not vulnerable. You don't show your husband your heart. Number 2 is you expect him to meet all of your needs, when a lot of times there are things you need to do, things you need to take care of for yourself. Number 3 is you compare the inside of your marriage to the outside of someone else's marriage, which only breeds more frustration and disappointment. Number 4 is you fight with reality and you have expectations that you have no evidence that your husband will actually ever meet. And number 5 is you try to do things all on your own. You're trying to figure this out on your own. You've been trying to figure this out on your own, and it's keeping you stuck. So that's what I have for you. I just want you to think about that. As I listed those points, which one stood out to you the most? Is the area that is a problem, that is an area where, yeah, you're right, I am making things a little bit harder. Why don't you drop me a comment and let me know what's going on for you. I'd love to support you. I encourage you to visit my website at berelatable.com. You can find my blog, my podcast, lots of resources to help move you in a different direction. And if this is the first time that you're actually seeing me and you're like, well, who is this lady? You've just spilled all this information. Like, who are you? I am Dr. Siobhan Porat. I'm a relationship expert and a marriage coach. And I work with women to develop the mindset and skills to create happier and more loving marriages, all without making over the husband. Because I believe that the quickest way to improve your marriage and the fastest route to your own personal happiness is by taking a good look in the mirror. And I do that by offering personal coaching, online courses, and other digital products that really help you transform your mindset so that you can renew your marriage. So I would love to connect with you. Send me a message. Let me know that you are appreciating what I'm doing, that it's helpful. I'd love that encouragement. And I would love to hear from you to know that I'm meeting your needs. So thank you so much for tuning in for this live stream. And I will definitely be back with you sometime soon for more. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.